Here's lesson 2.2a, perimeter and area. Now, what we're going to do is we're going to find some perimeters and we're going to find some areas of shapes. Now, in order to do that, we have to be able to do some multiplications and some additions, really, to be able to find some perimeters and areas. Now, we're going to start by finding the perimeter of these following objects right here. Now, these are pretty simple to start off with. This guy right here is 5, so that means this side over here should be 5. This guy here is 3, so this one over here should be 5. Or, I'm sorry, 3. And now we're just going to add the sides together. So we have 5 plus 3 plus 5 plus 3. And that's taking me the whole way around my shape. So I have 5 plus 3, which is 8. Plus 5 is 13. Plus 3 is 16. Now remember from last lesson when we did, or a few lessons ago when we did the commutative property, I could have moved these numbers around and did 5 plus 5 plus 3 plus 3, and it would have been a little easier to get that 16. Okay, the bottom down here is 3, so up here would also be a 3, and since this is 10, this also has to be 10. All right, so what we're going to do is 10 plus 3, 10 plus 3 plus 10, and then this guy down here plus 3. So what I'm going to do now is use the commutative property. 10 plus 10 is 20, plus 3 is 23, plus 3 is 26. And this is inches. And what I should have done was put feet on my answer over here. Okay. Let's go to the bottom and work on a triangle. Here, we're just going to go around the edges. We have 3 plus 3 plus 4. So 3 plus 3 plus 4. 3 and 3 is 6, plus 4 is 10. 10 meters of perimeter. In number 4, we just go around the shape, or around the outside of this shape. This guy is a trapezoid. We're going to go around the outside of this trapezoid. Okay, 4 plus 5 is 9, plus 3 gives us 12, plus another 3, which gives us 15. 15 meters of perimeter. Okay, good. Let's go to the back of the first page, and let's talk about area. Area is a little bit different than perimeter. Whereas we're perimeter, we just added up all the sides is what we saw. But with area, each shape or boundary has its own unique formula. So let's start with rectangles and squares. Area is equal to length times width, or maybe you're more happy with base times height. Doesn't matter, it's all the same. So area being equal to length times width, the length here would be 5, we'll call the width 3. So this is equal to 5 times 3, and that's an easy 15. Now, here comes our label. We're in feet, but notice that we're in feet in 2 dimensions. Area, 2 dimensions. So we need a little 2 as an exponent, 15 feet squared. Same idea for this rectangle here. Remember, area is length times width, which is equal to, in this case, length times width. Now, I guess I should point out that it doesn't matter if you use the 10 for the length or the 3 for the length. Or for that matter, if you use the 3 for the width or the 10 for the width. It doesn't matter. Remember, the commutative property says that multiplication can happen in any order, and you're still going to get the same answer. So I'm going to use 3 times 10, but you might do 10 times 3, and we're both going to come up with 30 inches squared. Let's go to the bottom of the page and work on some more rectangles and squares. Here in number 3, we have a 6 by 6 shape, and we know whenever we see a 4-sided figure with all the same length of sides and right angles, we have a square. Area of the square is, again, length times width. My length is 6. My width is 6. So I have 6 times 6, and that gives me a 36. I'm in feet. That's squared. Here's the most tricky one we're going to do today. This L shape we cannot find the area of it the way it stands right now. What we need to do is split this so that we can handle its odd shape. I'm going to split it like this. That leaves me with rectangle 1 and rectangle 2. I hope you can notice the rectangles here. We have an 8 by, well, this shape here, this rectangle. We haven't found the one dimension yet, but we have this rectangle here, and then we have this 2 by 3 rectangle down here. While we're thinking about it, let's go ahead and find this length right here. Now, if this whole thing over here is 6, that means this entire length here that would kind of ghost in here also has to be 6. If this part right here is 2 from here to here, that leaves us 4 for this part here. 4 plus 2 gives us this entire length here, 6. Okay, so now I have my first rectangle being 4 by 8, and my second one is 2 by 3. So let's do this. Area 1, 8 times 4, which is 32. Area 2, remember, length times width for both of these. Area 2 is 2 by 3. That is 6. Now what I'm going to do is, since I split this, I took them apart, and I'm going to put them back together. 32 plus 6 is 38 inches squared. Okay, let's go to our last page and talk about the area of some triangles. The formula to find the area of a triangle is very similar to what we were just doing, length times width, except you have to multiply by 1/2 or divide by 2. The reason is, if I would draw this rectangle right here, and I would sort of cut it in half, I know the way I find the area of my rectangle is length times width. But I only want half of it for my triangle. So that's why I'm multiplying by 1/2 or dividing by 2. So let's try this 3 by 4 triangle down here. Area is 1/2 length times width, or length times width divided by 2. I'm going to call my length 3, and I'm going to call my width 4. Now, 3 times 4 is 12. Half of that is 6 feet squared. Let's try this rectangle. Let's try this triangle right here. Area is 1/2 length times width. I'm going to call my length 16, and I'm going to call my width 20. Now I'm really going to use the commutative property here. Half of 20 is 10. 10 times 16 is 160 inches squared. You can see how nice it is to use the commutative property to do these sorts of problems in your head. Let's try one final example on this lesson. Remember, area is equal to 1/2 length times width. I'm going to call my length of this triangle 4 miles. I guess this is some area outside that we're trying to find the boundary or how much square mileage we have on this property. Let's call the length 4 and the width 5. 1/2 of 4 is 2. 2 times 5 is 10 miles squared. That concludes our lesson on perimeter and area, lesson 2.2a. Remember, if you had any questions or if anything was confusing, make sure you go back and watch that section.